99% of people, they fail at high ticket sales because they're taking advice from someone who made all of their money selling courses and not actually closing deals. Think about it. Most sales gurus had 1, maybe 2 good months and then they quit to sell a course. They give you scripts, templates, and frameworks that they read about in a book, but the truth is, it works in theory, but that's not what happens on a sales call. Why should you listen to me? Name's Pranav. I was top closer on my offer 15 out of 18 months selling. I helped scale from 0 to 700K per month with just the high ticket sales team. I didn't just have 1 or 2 good months. I did this consistently at the highest level. And I'm not giving you any scripts. You don't need more objection training, because once you understand the principles I'm going to show you in this video, your prospects, they're going to sell themselves to you. Let's get right into it. So here's what I stopped doing, and you're probably doing a few of these things right now. Everyone tells you to stick to the script or follow the framework word for word, or when the customer says X, you say Y. And the biggest problem with this is real conversation doesn't follow a script. What ends up happening is you end up sounding robotic. In the moment, you're not present. You're thinking about what you're going to say next rather than actually being present with the prospect. And the prospect is going to feel like they're being sold to, and all this does is increase their sales resistance, and prospects put their guard up. And the next thing that's keeping you stuck is going to be relying strictly on external urgency and fake urgency rather than creating internal urgency within the prospect. Relying on something like having 3 spots left or the price goes up tomorrow, it just doesn't work. Everyone teaches this stuff and it worked back in 2015, but now the average buyer is a lot more skeptical and a lot more sophisticated. So here's what happens now. People see right through it. They've heard it 1,000 times and it kills trust immediately, and trust is the #1 thing on any sales conversation. I never teach anyone to use fake urgency on a call because it doesn't work. What you need to do is build internal urgency within the prospect by showing them the gap of where they are versus where they want to be, as well as getting the prospect to internalize and verbalize to you that they cannot stay stuck where they're currently at, whether it be fitness, whether it be financially. No matter where they're at, whatever they're looking to get help in, once they accept and internalize that they are not okay with being there, that internal urgency is going to be 10 times more powerful than having 3 spots left, which doesn't work. The next thing that's keeping you stuck is using pressure techniques, assumptive closes, and even relying on sleazy tie downs to gain commitment from the prospect. If you ask a prospect something like, you want to make more money, right? Or we're going to get started today, right? All of this stuff ends up feeling slimy, and the main reason that it backfires, smart people, they feel manipulated because you're forcing answers from the prospect rather than pulling the real information that you need to close the deal. More times than not, if you don't give the prospect the opportunity to tell you their concerns and just brush right past it, you lose the chance to overcome it, pre-handle it, and reframe that belief that will actually allow you to close the deal and keep the prospect closed. What ends up happening is they say yes on the call throughout the whole sales process, and then when it's time to make the payment, the nerves, the fear, the doubt, and everything just hits at once. All of this stuff is designed to trick people into saying yes and buying your product. It worked 10 years ago and it doesn't work today. They can sense when you're forcing a response or using a technique. And as soon as they get that feeling that you don't have their best intention at heart, you lose the deal right then. So what I do instead, and it comes down to 3 simple things, and nobody teaches it because it's way too simple to sell a course on. Principle 1, I learned why I'm saying what rather than just knowing what to say. Most closers, they learn what to say. When the prospect says this, you say that. The problem with this is you have no idea on why it actually works and what's the goal of asking each question. What I did different was learn why every question matters. And this comes from asking yourself, what does this question actually do? What is the main thing that I'm trying to find out or uncover? And why does this move the needle forward in the sales conversation? And when you know why, you don't need a script and you can adapt to whatever the prospect throws at you on the sales call. And real conversation doesn't follow a script anyways. Principle number 2 is going to be learning to read between the lines. Most closers, they only listen to what the prospect is saying rather than what the prospect actually means. More times than not, you'll have a prospect say one thing, but they mean something totally different. And this is hidden in a tonality shift, or if they hesitated while saying something. That's where the truth is going to be. Most closers, they only hear the words. When they hear, I need to think about it, they freeze up, they push forward, and then they lose the deal. What I do differently is I listen to what the prospect means, not just what they're saying. So if they have a tone shift, figure out why. If they hesitated or felt a little bit uncomfortable when talking about X, Y, and Z, find out what's behind that, pre-handle it, reframe their beliefs, and this is going to save you a lot of time throughout the conversation rather than handling what the root cause is. And if the prospect says yes, but they seem a little bit hesitant, dig a little bit deeper and figure out what's actually behind that so you can pre-handle the objection, reframe any limiting beliefs that's holding the prospect back. And this is what actually moves the needle forward, by pre-handling where you can see where the prospect is uncomfortable, where their tone shift. Maybe it's the investment and you need to reframe that. Maybe it's taking action. Whatever it may be, once you reframe it earlier into the call and tie it down, that's going to serve you a lot more than just brushing past it and getting a surface level yes. This is what separates good closers from great closers. And if you're watching this video, I know your goal is to be a great closer and hit the top 1% in the industry. Principle number 3 is trust over everything. Because at the end of the day, every objection comes down to a trust. Because if they were 100% sure that what you're telling them was true and they could see success, I mean, they'd do it and they wouldn't hesitate. So behind every, I need to think about it, it's a lack of trust in you, the coach, the program, or even their ability to stay consistent and put in the work and make the change in their life. If they tell you, I don't have the money, it means they don't trust that the value is there. Because if you gave them a Ferrari for $20,000, they'd find the money somehow because they know it's worth a lot more than the 20K. When if you're selling a BizOps offer, it's the exact same thing. If they trusted that they could make 10, 20, 30 grand in a month, obviously they'd pay 5, 10, 15, 20K for it. If someone actually trusts you, every single objection is going to disappear. And this is the most important thing when closing deals. Problem is, nobody teaches you this stuff. All they teach you to do is the word tracks to handle a sales objection when you're not handling the root cause. What I like to do is build trust so objections disappear. The best way to build trust with people is just by keeping it real with the prospect. If it's not a good fit, feel free to let the prospect know and disqualify him. If he has a limiting belief or a mindset that's held him back, let him know and give him an option. Either we overcome it and move forward. If not, this wouldn't be a good fit. What this is going to do is force the prospect to fall into your frame and admit they need to make a change while you're also disqualifying them, which builds a lot of trust. So now you might be thinking, what does this actually look like on a real sales call and how can I implement this? That's what I'm going to show you. I go into every single call trying to figure out one thing is what can I do to actually help this person make a change in their life, not just how can I close this person and how can I take his money, but is this actually a good fit for them? And will this allow them to change their life? When your mindset is to actually help the prospect, you'll challenge them when you need to challenge them. You'll be more present on the sales call naturally, as well as you'll ask the more natural, more human question, which is what's going to bring the real pain points out and close the deal. So what am I doing on the sales call? Number 1 is asking them about their current situation. You need to figure out where they're currently at, what's tangible about where they're at. So if you're selling BizOps, how much are they making per month? What do they have set aside? As well as what emotions do they feel from being stuck at that original point? After this, you want to figure out what they've tried to actually reach their desired outcome, as well as go a little bit deeper on why that hasn't worked and what sort of limiting beliefs have held them back in the past. After you figure this out and draw the right emotion, you want to figure out where does this person actually want to go? Why does it matter to them specifically? And the emotions that they'll feel from being at that desired outcome. What this is going to do is allow them to feel the gap from where they are to where they want to be. Next thing is going to be building the gap. And the best way to do this is by really understanding what happens to your prospect if nothing changes. What does it cost them to be stuck where they're at? And what does their life look like if another 1 or 2 years went by and they didn't commit to making their change? Once you can get the prospect to paint that picture clearly for you, as well as pull the right emotion of what they would feel like being in that spot, the prospect will want to move forward because they realize they have an outcome that they want to get to. They haven't been there for the last 3 years, and what it would actually feel like if they stayed in the same spot. And more times than not, that's gonna be uncomfortable. And I barely have to sell anything because moving forward is the most obvious decision to make, because they know what it feels like to be in the same spot from painting that picture effectively. So what you want to do is stop trying to just close people, but figure out, how can I help this person? When they trust you and they feel understood, they're gonna close. It's the only obvious thing to do. So everything I just taught you goes against what the sales industry teaches. You don't need any scripts, any fake urgency, or any manipulation tactics. All you need to understand is the why behind the questions you're asking, how to build trust within your prospects, and then the deal is going to close itself. These concepts alone have given me the freedom to live life on my own terms, to go out there and provide for my family, and literally to be able to work from anywhere in the world. So if you want me to break down your calls and show you exactly what's holding you back from getting to your first 10 or 20K in a month, click the link below and apply to see if it's a good fit for us to work together.